lying on the floor there for a little bit, did stay in the game, but we don't know the extent of this. We'll hopefully get some updates from Nick Sirianni and the Eagles when they meet with the media today. But in terms of this offense, Dave, what do they lose without Dallas Goedert there for Jalen Hurts' perspective, and who benefits in terms of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, maybe somebody else?
They lose one of the safety nets, I should say, for Jalen Hurts. I saw it going all the way back to the preseason that Dallas Goedert was a guy that when Jalen Hurts, the chips were down, he needs to make a play, Goedert's who he's going to. Now I think a lot of those targets are going to end up going to A.J. Brown, and obviously Devontae Smith's going to be involved too. There isn't a tight end on the team that I feel good about picking up as a one-to-one, even close to a one-to-one replacement for Dallas Goedert. You're going to have to go off the Eagles roster for that, but you're going to see that target volume spike for those two guys, and you're going to see this Eagles team continue to run the ball just as they have been for much of the year.
I think it's probably a little boost for Miles Sanders as well. They only had 2 running back rush attempts in the first half of that game against Washington, partially because they never had the football. But I would not be surprised if they're just a little bit more run heavy. Jalen Hurts has not been as active as a rusher this season as he was last year. So I would say a little bit of a boost to Sanders. A.J. Brown was already a top 10 wide receiver anyway. It doesn't really matter for him. Maybe this makes Devontae Smith just a little bit more reliable. He's had those booms and those busts, and those booms and those busts. Maybe we can get rid of the busts until Dallas Goedert comes back.
No interest in Quez Watkins, though, who had the big play for both sides. Big catch.
Right.
Could have set up the Eagles maybe to win the game, and then the fumble, which ended up, helping Washington with that big turnover.
He's going to be a desperation flex. He has that big play ability, but he also has one target in a game ability, too.
Right. All right, so if you are looking for some tight ends to replace Dallas Goedert, we'll show you this list a little bit later in the show, but just want to give you a sneak peek of what the tight end waiver wire could look like for you. Cole Kmet is the prize because he's been playing great of late and hopefully will continue to do so. David Njoku, if he's out there, we know what he did early in the season, has the opportunity to get Deshaun Watson back in Week 13. Foster Moreau, Darren Waller's not going to play for the next 3 games. Trey McBride, no Zach Ertz for the rest of the season. Hayden Hurst, Isaiah Likely might be a big benefactor if there's no Mark Andrews again. Then Jawan Johnson, Trey McKitty, also a desperate situation without Gerald Everett there as well. So that's one story that we're following. Then we have another story that we're following in terms of the news that we're looking at here. So we'll transition from Monday Night Football to another just frustrating situation. So according to Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp is going to be placed on injured reserve. He's going to have surgery on Wednesday for his high ankle sprain. So this was the worst case scenario. We thought maybe he was going to avoid season-ending surgery. Maybe he does come back after 4 weeks. I don't know exactly which IR we're talking about here, but probably most likely it's going to be season-ending. At this point, I'm at a loss for words because
how do we replace Cooper Kupp in fantasy football? Go ahead and give us the names of 20 receivers that can do what Cooper Kupp did.
They would take 20 to accumulate what Cooper Kupp does. So let's start with the Rams here. All right, so Matthew Stafford did not play, dealt with a concussion. John Walford played against the Cardinals. Stafford now hands off completely.
Forget about it. Yes.
Bye-bye. No, thank you. The receivers there for the Rams. Allen Robinson's been miserable. Van Jefferson just had his first touchdown, but he's been largely disappointing. Ben Skwarnik, maybe we see some from him. Maybe Tyler Higbee gets a boost. Give me your assessment of the receiving core there now that Cooper Kupp's not going to be there for the extended period of time.
You guys were ahead of it on Tyler Higbee last week, so props to you for saying that Higbee would get back involved. And really, he had a lot of catches and yards after the Cooper Kupp injury, so it makes sense that he stays as a high target guy for the Rams. If Allen Robinson had been playing even a little bit better earlier this year / last year, I'd be all in on Allen Robinson to be that number 1 guy. We talked about it in August for him to be a potential league winner, especially if he was able to do a lot of the things as far as getting open as Cooper Kupp did. But I can't trust him. I'm interested in stashing Van Jefferson more so than someone like Jahan Dotson, who I mentioned earlier in the show is someone that I'd want to stash. I'd rather have Van. He's a better route runner. He might be as good, if not better, of a route runner than Allen Robinson, but he's got speed on top of it, and there's going to be targets for days because they can't run the ball, and they're going to be playing from behind most weeks. I wonder, by the way, if this Kupp injury starts to snowball things for the Rams. They look at their record. They see 3 wins. They know they're not going anywhere this year. Is Stafford next to go on IR and just be done for the year? And if that's the case, then it's going to be really hard to fall in love with anybody on this list.
You can't fall in love with anybody. They're 29th in scoring, 34st in yards with Cooper Kupp.
Right.
They've scored more than 20 points twice all season against the Panthers and the Falcons. I just think they're a complete disaster. Allen Robinson's in that Curtis Samuel, maybe a number 3 wide receiver range. Tyler Higbee, you're probably going to start. Everybody else can go to the waiver wire.
All right, so just give me a name. Van Jefferson or Allen Robinson the rest of the season?
Robinson.
I'll say Van. I'm excited about Van.
I think I may go with Van just because we know what Allen Robinson is. He wasn't getting open when he wasn't seeing coverage. Now he's going to see a little bit tougher coverage. I mean, it could be Van Jefferson as well, but I think we all agree Higbee's the best of the receiving options there because of the position that he plays. And then also maybe Karen Williams, because he just came off injured reserve after the 7-game absence with the ankle injury. Had 3 targets, 3 catches. We know that they'll probably get the ball out quick. Maybe he
all
benefits.
That came at the end of the game.
Well. Yeah, we're talking about, but still, it's the end of the game after they lose Cup. Now they don't have Cup. They need to find ways to
Sure, and Van
produce.
Jefferson has touchdown late.
I think just in terms of him, Jerick McKinnon has been getting 10 PPR points a week. Kyron Williams can potentially do that. Here are the waiver wire options at receiver that could be helpful to you. Again, we'll show you this list later in the show, get a little bit more in depth with it. But this is a list actually that could be a little bit safer than the running backs for sure and even the tight ends. But some guys that have been producing or have the chance to produce. You see Tony coming off his best game with the Chiefs, and we don't know if Juju and Mecole Hardman are going to be healthy. Paris Campbell loves Matt Ryan under center. Donovan Peoples-Jones been playing well, safe floor, maybe high ceiling coming up with the Deshaun Watson in Week 13. Christian Watson, best game that he's had of his life, and hopefully that builds off. He can build off that heading into Week 11 against the Titans. You see the rest of the names here. There's another list as well, so we'll show you the second list too. Some deeper league options. Van Jefferson shows up there. Julio, Zay Jones are on a bye. Odell doesn't have a team yet. Maybe now he goes to the Rams if they decide to try and lure him.
Does he want them?
I doubt it, but you never know. He just won a Super Bowl with them, so maybe he does them a favor and helps them out. That would be interesting to maybe save Matthew Stafford, and then some deeper league options, Nick Westbrook-Akina and Kendall Hinton benefiting because of injuries or just a lack of options for the Titans offense. Other stories that we're looking at here, and we'll spend some more time on Cooper Kupp as well, but Nathaniel Hackett saying that Jerry Jeudy is, quote, day-to-day with the ankle injury there in Denver, and so we saw him leave the game early against the Titans. Offensive line was a disaster against a stripped-down Tennessee defense to begin with, but can you trust now Russell Wilson going against the Raiders? Heath, we talked about this yesterday, that it's a great matchup for him. His only big game of the season was against the Raiders in Week 4, 30 fantasy points. Without Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Kendall Hinton, Greg Dulcich, who do you like, who do you avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see Cortland Sutton as a borderline number 2 wide receiver if there's no Jerry Jeudy. You're going to see Dulcich as a borderline number 1 tight end who might be close to a top 10 tight end now that Dallas Goedert's out of the picture as well. One bad game's not going to completely push him out of the picture. Russell Wilson is one of these guys that I would really like to get away with, and then I go look at who is available to put in my top 12 at quarterback. I think he's going to be very close to 12th. He'll definitely be a top 15 quarterback. I can't find a streamer that I want to stream over him.
The nice thing is he just has to do what Matt Ryan did. Run for 38 yards. I mean, Ryan does that on a week-to-week basis. Find the end zone. He scored against them the last time on the ground. I mean, look, it's tough to trust Russell Wilson. We're gonna do a good job of being car salesman here and try and tell you that he has an opportunity to maybe play well because the Raiders are so bad. But it's tough to trust him. But again, it's a tough week of quarterbacks. No Tua, no Brady, no Geno Smith. It's tough to be without these guys, and so no Trevor Lawrence for what it's worth as well. But it's tough to be without these guys and say Russell Wilson does not have a chance to be in that 18 to 20 point range looking at this Raiders defense. Justin Herbert's in a good spot, hopefully, because he's going to get his guys back, at least according to Brandon Staley, that Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are expected to practice this week. So, Dave, big game for them, taking on the Chiefs, coming off a tough loss against San Francisco. I think they've been hoping to get Keenan Allen back. Mike Williams might be a little bit more of a surprise with his return from the high ankle sprain. But if those two guys are back, A, what does that mean for Justin Herbert? And B, can you trust those two guys?
I think it means good things for Justin Herbert. It means you're starting him maybe not quite as a top 5 fantasy quarterback, but definitely as a top 7, top 8 type of guy. He's got his upside back, and this is the team that's thrown the second most in the NFL. Their pass rate, 66%.